Welcome to my basement, everybody, especially you, Sam Machkovech from Ars Technica. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you.
Just swimming in a sea of incredibly weird, mad news all around, and that's just only on the video game side.
True. This is the weirdest year in many, many ways, the weirdest year to launch a new machine. And, of course, there are lots of games that are coming out right now. You are inundated with joy and pain. Like all of us around the world right now.
I'll take it. I will take this flavor of joy and pain.
Well, we've got some people in the chat have joined us already. Sean Spear is here. He says, it's big. He knows we're going to talk about the PlayStation 5. Hi there is here. Nintendo Boy 17, The Last Disciple. Yo, pathetic Earthling. I hope you don't really feel that way, pathetic Earthling. But hello, it's good to have you here. Blair Farrell is here. He's going to be queuing up a retro tape of Crash 4. Okay? And watching it at the same time, or listening. Leaf Fan B and Robert Tolan, Jordy Games, Hip Hop Dan, good to see you. Just so everybody that's listening to this, because this will also go up as an audio podcast on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EPNTV, we are starting to do live Vic's Basements, like the one that we are in right now. You are listening to it. So if you ever wanted to come and join, we have the best community on the internet. I can guarantee that's with a little TM bing. The chat is fantastic. They are a bunch of really nice people with a sense of maturity and a real understanding of what EP is all about. And I'm lucky to have them supporting me, and I know that you will be very appreciated if you come and join the chat and watch some of these live Vic's Basements. Don't have a schedule for you yet. We're not that pro, but eventually we will. But this live Vic's Basement is dedicated to a brand new machine, the PlayStation 5. Sam has got his in the house.
Hold on, podcast listeners. I'll make the noises so that if you can't see it on the television, you can get a sense of what it is that I'm holding. I have just picked up, and I'm trying to hold it perfectly in the frame in my webcam. I don't know that 1080p is enough for holding the entirety.
It has filled your whole frame, your whole window. It's amazing.
The whole frame, yes.
I've got the PlayStation 5 console and your name key. It doesn't quite fit. How heavy is that sucker? Is it crazy heavy?
No, having also tested the Xbox Series X, I was sent a prototype version of that before the final retail version.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be identical. It's interesting. So the PlayStation 5 is, I haven't gotten a scale to measure it. The kitchen scale I have does not have the capacity for either console. But the thing about Xbox Series X is it's more dense.
Right.
So your hands are closer together when you're holding its mass. I would say that they're about the same weight, but because this is so much bigger, you can just get your hands on opposite ends, and you want to, generally support it. Obviously, I've lifted it around in ways that you probably shouldn't. You really should set it and forget it, find a nice spot and keep it there. But I've been picking it up and comparing it to other things and getting photos ready for the article today at Ars Technica and maybe future articles to come, picking it up and switching it from horizontal to vertical and all that. So unwieldy is definitely the word I'd use, having picked it up a bunch. Like I've never felt like I was about to drop it, but definitely like, it's a chunky boy.
It's a chunky boy. It looks like a sail for a boat. It's like you could fly away with that thing.
There's a lot going on with the language of it. And that's why, we don't always do unboxings. We don't always do the thing where, hey, here's a thing, and we're only allowed to show you what it looks like we're technically not allowed to take a photo of us turning it on, of the power being on, or any of that.
Right.
Like it's one of these weird limited hype cycle embargo things.
Right.
In the case of what we have here, having it in the hand is kind of half of it. If you're looking on the webcam, my ring light is already kind of blowing up on it because of the glossy material that they've chosen. Which it's kind of interesting the way that zipper sort of pattern or popped collar, however you want to call it, works out as compared to Xbox Series X, which has this subtle there's a grid of dots that have all this paint on it that has this more subtle effect as you walk past it, whereas this thing wants you to it's like it's checking you out at a club, Night at the Roxbury style. You can almost imagine it bobbing back and forth as it's going along.
It wants your attention.
but that's also they clearly didn't have great ideas for just the hardware itself because it needed to be so big, but they also wanted to guarantee airflow. So these extra giant wings, I have not tried taking this off yet.
Okay.
But if you go to Sony's official teardown, which I want to say went up about 2 weeks ago, give or take, although time is so relative as of late. But you can see them pull these white fins off, and it's kind of like you can almost see, if you look at it this way, you get a sense of what the shape would be without the white fins, that it's this a little bit of an extra space built into what would have otherwise been, I don't know, like a DVD player.
Speaking of DVD players, have you tried sitting it horizontally, and how does it look to you when it's on a desk?
Well, so this is the way that I would want to set it horizontally. Notice how the DVD drive is up. I'm sorry, Blu-ray drive. I kind of like that up that way. That's not how it goes. That's like was one of the first confusing things. Let's hold it the way it's supposed to go, because the Sony logo, the PlayStation logo, is supposed to be on the top, which makes sense.
Okay.
So we'll get to the next part as I go away from the microphone. Sorry, because the stand is the other part of the equation.
Right.
So PlayStation 5 comes with a stand.
Oh, that's good.
And I have already lost the screw that goes with
no.
it. And I can explain exactly how it works. So I'm pretty sure, which mode do I have it in? I'm pretty sure I have it in vertical mode. Now, this is for podcast listeners. You get to watch me or hear me be confused and flail around with plastic. But the idea is that you stick it to the bottom while turning the stand a certain way.
Right.
And it doesn't lock into place back here. You're supposed to put a screw in at this little spot here. There's a little screw that goes in, but this doesn't. If you don't have the screw in, this is loose. Now you can put it down and it'll wobble. Like you could even just put it down without the stand, but I don't recommend it. And clearly they ship it this way.
Right.
But if you want to go into horizontal mode, you have to take the stand and you have to rotate it, if I can even do it right, so that this little piece right here becomes hard, not soft. It's because once you go into horizontal mode,
that sounded amazing for our listeners.
Yeah. Listen, it's a single entendre, okay? It's all what you think it is. Now, on the console itself, on this side, it's hard to see from this angle. We're not doing a zoom in on this.
Yeah.
But imagine right about here, there's a bunch of little triangle, X, square, circle icons.
Right.
This is where this guy locks into place.
Oh, and so it's a dual purpose stand. That's pretty cool.
So but it doesn't lock into place.
Right.
And the screw at that point does not work. Now let's see if I hope I don't drop this. That would be incredible audio.
Oh,
but
man.
That's how it is on the bottom.
Okay. So it doesn't lock into place, but does it feel secure?
No, it does not. Not only does it not lock into place, I would argue that it does not currently feel entirely secure. And you'll find that out if you try sliding it around in your entertainment center. Because imagine you'll take this big bulky thing, and you might get it set stable and then push it back. Now, if you don't push it carefully, it will possibly dislodge. That's not to say you can't successfully push it back, but it did take me a second to get the hang of that. Now, ideally, again, you're setting it back in your entertainment center and you're not grabbing it a bunch.
Right.
You're not going to be hooking up a whole bunch of different things. You pick your whatever you're going to plug into the back, which is Ethernet and HDMI and USB 3.1 and power. That's it for the back. There is no PlayStation 4.
It's so clean.
Yeah, but it's a pretty small array of ports. We don't have optical. We don't have the special PlayStation 4 port needed for PSVR.
Right.
I still have no idea if, when, or how they're going to be providing adapters to anyone to hook PlayStation VR.
Because you have to play PS4 VR games with the PS4 VR headset, if I'm not mistaken, and the camera,
and the controller, and the camera. Yeah.
Wow.
Because unless they say otherwise, the newer camera and the newer controller are not for PSVR,
right? Because
of the light bar. The controller has that little
it's more than just a game design. It's a whole different. It's a whole different way of thinking for VR going forward for Sony.
And as of right now, we don't know when consumers are going to get any of that. And that's as much as I can publicly say about PlayStation VR stuff. So when you put it in this orientation horizontally, it's kind of bound in. Like I would need to use force to get it out. So it's kind of snug in, but it's not that much force. It does come out.
Just give Sony a nice round of applause, though, for supplying the stand? Because that would normally be a $25 purchase on every previous iteration of PlayStation.
Normally, I'd say yes, but having used Xbox Series X, which doesn't need a stand because of its design, just has rubber feet on horizontal and the whole rubberized stand on vertical.
Yeah,
I gotta say, if you're the kind of person like me who may want to you're going to buy one console and you're going to switch it from room to room.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's night and day difference in terms of that sense of what it means to move those from room to room. And as of right now, the prototype Series X hardware I've used, night and day difference compared to because I got to explain how I lost the screw. So now we look at the bottom here. I don't know. I'm going to get the angle just right.
Yeah.
There's a little square here and it's currently just sealed up. Now, if I move it back into vertical orientation, the hole opens up and there's a little, this is in the teardown video where there's a screw that's supposed to be in there.
Yeah.
And you take that and you pop it into this little hole, which matches up with the hole at the bottom of the PlayStation.
Yeah.
If you're not using the screw, you should be able to stick it in. It's supposed to just stick in place.
Yeah.
So I stuck it in place, switched back and forth, back and forth. I checked it when I was ready to screw it back in because I wasn't screwing it for a couple of switches just to take photos, and it was gone.
Oh man.
Who knows where it could be among my cords. I did take it outside to get photos out there. It could be outside in the yard. I did a whole combing check. I got a broom and couldn't find it.
Tell me it's not a proprietary screw though.
It's a proprietary
Shut
screw.
It. No, my God, Sony.
It is. It's sort of it's the kind of groove where I imagine you could find the exact bit size and be fine. Like it's it's not a torque design. It's because the actual screw, you can use a fingernail or a penny, maybe a Canadian penny works, but it's designed for very simple doing. But you can't just grab your own screw and stick it in. You need that size because it's long. And it's also got that sort of safe turny kind of thing. So I'm hoping it's easy to get a replacement screw. But that is absolutely a thing where the idea they came up with was to prevent my exact issue of it from flying out, but it flew out. And I thought that I had securely stuck the screw in. So I know we're going on and on and on about a stand, but I do think
this is part of the experience, right? And clearly your job is a little bit different from somebody just taking this home, opening it up, and plugging it in. You want to test it in a whole bunch of different ways, but people are going to clearly. I thought that when I saw that in the teardown, it's like people are going to lose that screw.
I'm the first. I'm the first.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's crazy. So it's big, it's heavy, comes with a stand, and the stand gives you a couple of purposes, which is kind of cool. All of that is, I like that. And I love the design of it. It looks like some kind of futuristic building. I may be in the minority, but the minute I saw it, I was like, that's dope. Because, if you're going to make a console, you and I talked about this, if you're going to make a console now, celebrate it a little bit, Not to say that the sleekness of the Series X isn't cool too, but it's safe comparative to this. This is not safe.
Here's what I'll have to say. Because I can't talk about the system otherwise.
Yeah.
I will get into things that I have noticed later. But what I will say about Series X is I like the way that it has blended in to my own home entertainment center, it, because I've had it for weeks. And I just think that sort of style and the way that the dot array, again, is attractive in the subtle way. If you find the right place in your house, now not everyone's going to have that, but if you've got a place in your house where you can put it vertically and have it be stable and not have children or cats mess with it, then it looks cool. And it's like I call it a gadget that's standing like a rebel in a 50s movie in a leather jacket, just kind of being chill and mum and waiting for you to notice it because of the array of dots and the paint on them. This, on the other hand, to me is just loud. Like you can't be that big. They did the right thing by going, okay, if we're going to be this large because of whatever hardware need we have for how we're doing fans or cooling or whatever it is, then they're like, okay, if we're going to be big, then we need to be loud and big. Because I think if they had been that much bigger and also just a square or just a slight angle like PlayStation 4, it wouldn't cut it. So I think they made the right call in looking very different. And it's just going to make this even more of a stupid flame war than we already expected because it's an internet era. I mean, this is the loudest social media age a console launch has ever had.
And everything is politicized. Every damn thing.
And everyone's home bored, so they have more time to pretend they're working and go, well, this is what I think of Phil Spencer. It's just madness.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it keeps people busy, I guess. Let's talk about the controller, the DualSense.
What, you mean this?
Yes, that it looks so sweet. And for those that are wondering, I don't have one yet. I have been in touch with Sony, and
it ain't right. Everyone write your Canadian Mountie, whatever the leadership says. I don't understand it.
Well, I think it's the Canada-U.S. thing. I think the U.S. was seated first, and I get it. I understand, and I don't envy anybody at PlayStation right now. I know they're going crazy. But
I mean, I'm not sending Vic mine, but that's how I almost feel like I should call for justice, but not enough to where I would send you this sleek baby. Welcome to the DualSense. We at Ars Technica have a specific DualSense article. Part of the embargo was saying you can talk about the pack-in game called Astro's Playroom that comes with PlayStation 5. And I'm not sure that everyone has said this, but let's say it just comes pre-installed on the console.
Sweet.
Or if for any reason you have to delete it, it's just free. If you are a PSN member and you are using a PlayStation 5, then you can go on PSN and just get it again. It's just there, and I don't know if that's going to change, but that's how it is right now.
Does it feel like launch. A full game? This Astro?
I can talk about the first level inside of Astro's Playroom, which it takes about 30 minutes to get near 100% on. Cooling. It's got the word cooling in it. The idea for all of the levels in Astro's Playroom is that each is a different part of the interior of PlayStation 5, done up in a Super Mario 64 Banjo-Kazooie-esque 3D platformer. And if you've played Astrobot Rescue Mission in PlayStation VR, then you have an idea of the style of platforming. Some of it is free camera rotation and full Mario 64 style. Some of it is more Banjo-Kazooie style. And we use that. It's solid. And I wish I could talk about I'd rather talk about the entire Astro's Playroom experience.
Yes.
To describe it, but it is a great opportunity to talk about this controller, and
which is probably why they wanted you guys to talk about the game. It's to show off what this new controller can do.
It is not just an unboxing because of us getting to talk about this stuff, but we've got it in my hands, so I'm going to talk about the feel of it while we're just looking at it. First off, we've got that black strip over the otherwise white portion. And I think it was very striking when this first got revealed because it looked smaller than it was. And I remember people going almost instantly into their PNG image editors and coloring it out to make it comparing directly to an Xbox controller and things like that. But when you hold it in the hand, I mean, hold on, I'm going to grab this real quick.
Yes. And while Sam's grabbing something, if you guys want to ask questions, help me out because the stream is going fairly fast. So just type in all caps the word question, and then ask your question so I can see it. But if you've got questions for Sam, I'll ask him. I don't know what he can answer, but let me know.
It's really hard perspective-wise to line these up.
Oh, yeah, that looks much bigger.
But it is bigger.
Yeah.
And the bigness...
It looks like an Xbox controller.
Correct. It's got more of an Xbox dimension. The way that there's something about the cut on the handles.
Yes.
These, it's much more rounded over here, and this one it's not sharp, but there's something about it that just fits in the hand differently. There's also a tiny micro texture, and I'm actually embarrassed that I didn't notice this. If you take a very high resolution zoom lens and you look at the micro texture, it's all PlayStation logos: X's, O's, squares, and triangles.
That's
tiny.
Super cool, man.
It looks really.
I like that.
I can't remember who did it. I don't have a good enough camera to really get a nice shot of it because I don't live the photography life. But you need a nice camera to pick it up. Like I get I hold the light up from the ring light right there and look, and I can kind of make out a triangle and an X and an O. But
that is super cool.
Yeah, so that's a cool touch. But what that adds is it adds that it's the most textured back. Well, it's a different one on this. I feel like maybe I've owned this controller for a while, so maybe it's just smoothed out over all of the sweating and anger during playing Ghost of Tsushima and all that. But I would say there's a little bit more firmness here, but it's not like an Xbox Elite controller. It's got that good tactility. But then we're playing Astro's Playroom, and the game is instantly a showcase for the specific DualSense features, which we've heard teased about. But when you hear a person who works for Sony describe the controller like this, you get everything that just sounds magical and mystical and not necessarily accurate. So I want to break down the different stuff. I have a video I already did up on YouTube.
Hold on, I got two questions I want to ask you about the controller. One's from Bubble Buster, Is the controller next gen in quotations? Does it feel like the next gen of controllers?
That is what we're going to go into with the impressions of how it works within the game.
Okay, and the other one is
a first-party game. Yeah.
Raiders 7528 says, does it feel better than the DualShock 4?
It feels, I mean, it's bigger. They're fitting more parts into it. It's heavier because it's got a heavier battery and other stuff that I'm going to get into. So I think if you like that sense, it's not like it's super heavy. It's not the aluminum made, it's got a plastic body, so it still feels perfectly manageable. But cool. Honestly, the way it fits into my hands, but then I like the Xbox style controller more than PlayStation.
Yes.
So that's maybe, I could see some people who specifically like the DualShock 4 having a weird transition with this. But again, I think it fits just fine. I've got grown-up hands. I've had 3 other people, 2 of which I made sit on the other side of the room with the doors open. They came over quite literally because they heard I had a PlayStation 5 privately, secretly, and said, we're going to do the COVID-19 thing. I got to keep, you're not in my circle. Like, they came over, and the thing that they all said without me even prompting was, oh, that feels good to hold. All 3 people who tested.
That's cool.
Were all without, I didn't, because I did the thing where I'm like, just, play it. Let me know what you think. And they all just almost instantly said, oh, I like how it feels. Oh, it's bigger than I thought. Oh, I like it. If that was the unanimous, just anecdotal thing of my testing group.
Okay. So tell us how it plays with Astro.
So we're getting into Astro's Playroom, and instantly you feel the rumble. There is Immersion Corp is the name of the group that also worked with Nintendo on HD Rumble. Right. And it sounds like it's similar, if not identical technology, but built into a bigger controller body. Because unlike the Joy-Cons and the Nintendo Pro controller, the Joy-Cons are sort of the default state. They assume, okay, if you're going to play 1-2 switch, which is maybe the only really interesting HD Rumble game, then you're definitely just holding one Joy-Con. It's small. It's got a limited motor, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So the Pro Switch controller doesn't have all that. But Sony has this as the default. And that means the rumbling is all over. Now, I imagine it's not that many motors, more that they're just placed in a certain way that you kind of feel like there's almost a directionality. There's definitely a left to right and up to down of that rumble. And it can go from real subtle to real loud. But that's not the rumbling difference. The rumbling difference is when it's making all those buzzes and noises and rumbles with a speaker attached. Now, Sony has experimented with speakers inside of even the DualShock 4. Yeah. Nintendo experimented with a speaker in the Wii remote. And when you think about a speaker in a controller, you probably aren't having a good time. It's squawking at you randomly. Maybe it's a scanning sound inside of Horizon Zero Dawn. Maybe it's a baby crying in Death Stranding. Maybe it's a character in Zelda going, hey.
Sports game. Yeah,
there's these little squawks. Now, but imagine you feel a certain rumbling sensation and there's a noise coming out that's higher fidelity because of a better speaker, matching whatever that sensation is. You're walking through sand in the level I played.
Oh my god, that's soft, so dope. That's cool.
Puff steps.
Yes.
And not only are you feeling those puff steps, but it's coming out 100% matched, not instantaneously matched. And I asked people, hey, are you noticing what's happening? I had to explain to them that there's the speaker, and once they notice, they go, oh, that's something. Walk over a firmer surface, a glass. It's got more of a harder step, and there's a harder vibration with it. Not a ton. Like, in fact, I honestly think some of the steps could be identical in vibration, but different in sound. Hits you different in the head.
Now there's at one point fantastic. I mean, that's what DualSense. That's what it's underlining, right? That's why they call it this.
They have not talked about the speaker. Sony was really mum about that. There's even another point. You're walking through a blast of wind. The entire controller is vibrating, and you've got whoosh coming out. Like, the TV's making its own loud noise, but you get that subtle whoosh. Sure. And I would imagine same vibration amount as when you're ice skating, but instead of a whoosh in noise, you're getting a of carving lines in the ice.
Oh man, that is fantastic. And so Astro is like a demo for that.
Astro is absolutely a demo for that, made by Sony for a Sony exclusive console, which means I don't know that other developers are going to match up vibration and sound effects, because it's already a stretch to get special vibrate. Like on Nintendo Switch, the Joy-Cons, you barely ever get third-party games with that level of coding and effort. How many game studios are going to have their sound person break off just to do the controller syncing with the vibration? That is not a tiny development task. So
it's kind of true, because Sony did the same kind of thing with Astro in VR. It was it may be the best VR experience on PlayStation VR, purely because it showcases all of what that
absolutely
peripheral can do. I love that freaking game. I'm so excited to play this on the PS5.
So let's move on to some of the other stuff. The D-pad is pretty much identical to the DualShock 4, maybe the tiniest bit firmer. It's got such a striking look with the way that the D-pad is this translucent, plasticky shade. And the D-pad is also, there's no colors on it. I would say the button action is identical to DualShock 4. The joysticks have more of a ridging on their external ring than they did on DualShock 4. There's a little bit more grippiness to them, but otherwise I would say the resistance, the action, the amount of effort to do the L3, R3 click is identical. R1 and R2, identical, I'd say. The touch screen, the touch panel works identically to, I'd say, the DualShock 4. It's a slightly different shape, but it's always been kind of relative. You're not, you're not signing your name on it necessarily. And it's, I don't imagine, it doesn't have its own special rumble necessarily, anything like that. It just is another touchpad. And then we get to the triggers. I can't remember, are they the adaptive triggers or the impulse triggers?
There's a name. It's adaptive. I think it's
because
adaptive.
Xbox has impulse, which is not the same. Now, I have this powered off. I press down on the trigger. There's not really any resistance beyond just the natural plastic. I could play a game and it'll be the same for a generic action. I'm shooting a gun and it doesn't want it to feel special, like a weak gun, then it'll just be, I'm just pressing down. But in the level I've played of Astro's Playroom that I can talk about, when you press down in a tougher situation, the resistance starts to build up. So here's the example. At some point in the game, in that level, you can change into a frog suit. And when you're in the frog suit, you rotate your controller to aim your jump and you press on the R2 or L2 to do the jump. And when you press down at that point, because you're in the robot suit, the game wants you to know that that's harder exertion and that you get a payoff for pressing down all the way. Gotcha. So at about 25%, which is not much, it pushes back. It's like, nope, you really need to press all the way down. And then you actually have to go, and actually there's enough resistance to where it takes effort to get it
amazing.
all the way impressed at that point. Now, as soon as you're out of the frog suit, you press it and instantly that's done. Or if you hit the pause button, it's gone. The game can activate that level of resistance whenever a developer decides to make you go from the 25% to about 100% and just have that be a whole, like you're pushing through. It's making you press a certain amount so that you have beaten its resistance rating and it lets you go. I would compare it. I said this in my video from last night. The GameCube has analog triggers that when you press it about 90%, it stops, and then you have to press a little bit to get 100%.
Right, yeah.
Extra, that small click. Just imagine that click being 75% of the action.
That's so cool. Danny Johnson wants you to put the controller up a little bit closer to the camera so everybody can.
It's going to probably, the reason I hold it back is because my camera's focus is not great. You're not going to get an autofocus.
Oh, that's pretty good. It's kind of snapping to it. That's impressive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can do it like this as I keep on talking. I'll get the. In fact, I'll do
very Stormtrooper-esque, huh?
Oh yeah, and then also so notice the black line on the touchpad is where it lights up. So instead of having a bar, it's just when you see that black boundary is where it'll turn blue or orange or I can't really report on whether there's a bunch of different color capabilities or not.
And USB-C to charge, which is great. Blair Farrell asks, do you feel that the resistance will become tiring, especially for those with accessibility issues?
That's what I was not. I mean, accessibility issues. I have a lot of questions. Like, I don't think this controller is going to be. You can't just grab the Xbox accessibility controller and have it's just going to be an analog button for that kind of player. Right. And whether the game is coded for that or not is a question. I mean, Astro's Playroom doesn't even let you invert the angle of invert, like the look angle. Yeah, you can't invert the camera.
I'm an invert guy.
It's the good news is that the game will automatically reset its camera all the time because of the way the game works.
Okay.
But I'm also an invert person. You and I, as the old
yes, we've been doing this
men
a while.
On the hill.
Yeah.
But in the frog suit, you have to do a lot of jumping. That feeling at first is, oh wow. That feeling after the 40th jump in that one little level is, okay, I'm done here. But then let's also remember, I'm doing the rotation with this. I don't like using a controller
Motion
for
controls.
rotation.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But again, when you do a tiny bit of rotation, you feel a tiny vibration and you hear a tiny click of a gear because you're a robot turning left and right. So you get the kick, and you hear it and you feel it.
So
and it's impressive.
There's
but
a
it's
lot
also
more tactility. Yeah, that's cool. Michael Martin says, if you don't like the button layout on the PS4, you can change it in the accessibility options in the system settings, as the PS5 have those. I don't know if you can talk about that yet.
I cannot talk about any of the menu things. Basically, what I can talk about is one level of Astro's Playroom.
Okay.
And thankfully, that means I can talk about how the controller works in that, which opens me up a lot, and thank goodness. But all of the little questions you may have about anything in the interface, anything when I'm not playing that specific game, I'm stuck not answering. However, I'm happy to hear the questions because I want to know what people want to know about.
Did you get a collection of software for you to take a look at?
I am allowed to talk about the first level of Astro's Playroom.
Okay, all right. So
but I'm also allowed to show off other things that came.
Yes, let's talk. Okay, so this is the new camera, right?
Here, check this out. You get to be a part of this.
Okay. Oh, woo!
You got
what
the,
is that?
the
ASMR? Is that what that was right there?
Sure, that was me. Removing the tiny.
Okay.
I need the bi-directional microphone for all my plastic warbling fans out there. But yes, this is. But what's funny is I keep mixing up which way to hold it because it's identical upside and downside. Here,
everything on the PS5 looks like it was taken off of the set of Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, like it was lifted from the spaceships and brought to us.
So the way to know which side is the top and which is the bottom is the bottom opens up.
Okay.
Opens up, closes, so that you can conceively stick it on top of a television.
Or you can make a puppet out of it.
Or you can,
hello.
Hey,
hello.
This has been a very strange year.
It's Cammy, the very strange year puppet.
But as of right now, I can just say the box for this mentions a lot of streaming. This is advertised very much as you want to stream on your PlayStation 5.
Right.
We give you a 1080p feed of your face with this. And we can do, I can't remember if it advertised another feature or not. I'm blanking out, so I don't want to say it.
It's not a 4K camera?
It's not a 4K camera. I mean, goodness. In let's be clear though, this is the year 2020 when webcams are sold out everywhere. If you haven't looked on Amazon for a while, just search for webcams, and it's all strange knockoff versions because Logitech sold out of their stock back in April when everyone said, "Oh, I guess I got to get on Zoom." And so this is quite honestly maybe the easiest high quality camera to buy right now.
Can you use that as a webcam?
I think you can, but I have not bothered yet, and I feel like that would be breaking whatever rules I'm following. But it's USB Type A 3.1, and so I think that it's rated for it. And if it doesn't work, I imagine it would work before long because of community.
Someone will break. Someone will hack it. Yeah.
But there's nothing. They haven't advertised anything in the box about compatibility with games. They haven't said it's going to be iToy and you're going to reach around Kinect style at stuff. So
there's a callback. Danny Johnson says, "What's new with the camera? Does anything feel new, or did they mention anything that will be new with the camera?"
No. The box. I mean, honestly, I think it's the first 1080p rated official PlayStation camera, because even the PS4 one I want to say is a 720p maximum, if even that, because it was not designed for the box makes clear they want you to put your own image into the games you're streaming. They want to be part of that streaming generation, because I forgot to mention there's a start button where you would expect, and then there's the share button, which is a different shape over on the other side. It's got this, and it brings up a different interface, which Sony has talked about. So when you tap it, you get either a snap a video or snap an image or bring up a whole menu, and then you can even take your captures and put them picture in picture and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, they did a little sort of tease of what the front end was. They did a video. I think Sid Schumann, hosted it. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's see if I've got any other questions.
Go ahead. Because I have another thing to talk about while you're looking for questions.
Oh, this is good, but I don't know if you can talk about it. Everybody wants to know about the. This is from Leaf Fan B. How quiet is the PS5?
I do not know. I do not know. Because trust me, when we're allowed to talk about things like that, you will hear all about. Basically, if you read an article of mine about Xbox Series X and all of the different ways it works in my home, we are looking at all of those same issues.
Okay. All right. So more to come on that. My pillow smells like farts. This is a real name. I didn't just say that.
No, I'm sure. That sounds very internet-y to me, yes.
Is Astro's Playroom a full game or just a short demo game? I don't even know.
I think we're allowed to say that it's short. It's a pack-in game.
Okay.
So it comes free with every PlayStation 5. Do not expect to. I would tell people, don't cancel pre-orders for big adventure games and expect Astro's Playroom to be your 80-hour Assassin's Creed style adventure.
Got you.
I'm holding up the controller right here. I don't know if you can see, based on the way the lighting is, where the PS button is kind of between the joysticks.
Yes.
So beneath it is the mute button. So the controller by default has the microphone on as needed. You can tap that once to mute that microphone, which I believe is designed for voice chat while you're playing with friends. It's not like a Kinect.
Can you tap it twice and mute everybody?
You can hold it down and mute everything.
Oh, okay.
It is a PlayStation 5 mute your television, mute the controller, shut up button.
Oh, wow.
Which is actually really great.
That's
I don't know
cool,
that I've ever seen that in a controller. It's just shut up, everybody, just shut up button. So I think that's kind of cool.
It's the cool it fonts.
But the problem I have is its placement directly beneath the PlayStation button. I'm always reaching. I as I'm playing, I want to just go to the menus for whatever reason, and I keep just tapping the mute button instead.
Of course, yeah.
Now that's just being a new user. I haven't had this for terribly long, and maybe I'll get used to it. But I kind of hate those two functionalities existing in the same thumb language, because again, I take my finger off the joystick and I'm sliding over, and I'm touching the mute button before I touch the PlayStation button.
Sure.
So that's not great. I also don't like the fact that the PlayStation button is not a circle, but it's just the exact shape of the PlayStation icon. I think that's stupid. It also seems more brittle. Like I could imagine there being an issue with that button in one way or another, cracking it.
Proprietary button. But I don't know, man. They're getting behind their branding. They're celebrating that stuff. I'm cool with that. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. Let's see. My pillow smells like farts. Thanks us for the answer. Okay.
My pillow smells like fart should probably donate at least $10 per question. A name like that.
with a username like that, for sure. The power button. Is all of that stuff easy to see on the PlayStation 5?
No, it's a tiny tinky. I actually, when they first revealed it, I thought that was a port. I thought that was some proprietary memory stick spot or something.
Right.
And it's fine if you can get your finger on it. It's a hard button.
Yeah.
So, but it's very thin. Hold on while I answer.
Sam is attempting to lift up the PlayStation 5. Everybody, hold their breath. Here it is. PlayStation 5 is in the air, everyone.
Closer to the screen.
There it is.
So, I'm gonna get the shine on it. It should be right there in the glowy spot.
Okay.
Those are the power and eject buttons.
Okay. And they're actual physical buttons this time. Thank God.
Yeah, and there's a tiny logo. I don't know if it'll show up because of all the shine, but there's a tiny power button beneath the power button, and a power icon, beneath the power button, and a tiny eject icon above the eject one.
Okay. I see it. Yes. Okay, so we do have physical buttons. Thank goodness.
Along with, in the front, we have the one USB Type A and one USB Type C. They're both 3.1 rated. So there you go.
I've got a good comment here. Thank you from D-Side Botham. He says, Vic, I appreciate your non-biased excitement. I agree. Why would you nitpick the PlayStation logo on the controller? Give me a damn break. Why? I can always rely on you, Vic, for an honest reviews. You know what? Everybody's honest with this stuff. That we're always...
Here's what I got to say. I like the logo.
Yeah.
But I don't like the feel of it on my thumb. I would love for them to stick to a circle and just get that logo in. Because let's be clear, I like on the DualShock 4.
Yeah.
That PlayStation button or the PlayStation logo pops.
That and the PS4 Pro. I've got a Pro sitting right beside me right now.
And if you look right there, you have to hold the light. Like the PlayStation logo is hidden.
Yes.
Like I kind of wish it was a little bolder. Like if I were to paint this myself, I would paint that PlayStation button something a little bolder. Maybe paint it the original. I might paint this the original 4 colors.
This and the PS4 look so Soviet era utilitarian at this point. It's all like sharp angles, and it's just like, this works. You take this. They did some excellent design on the PS4 DualShock for sure, but it is definitely more flowery and more like designed and more spacey, the new PS5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that I'm seeing.
Now, the last thing I have are I want to say Pulse 3D headphones, which I can just show you, and that's it. Because you probably are more interested in how they
sound
and how they sound.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just look at some headphones. So I still haven't here. Let's get these. Let's get some more plastic off. I always leave plastic on forever because I live alone, and so that stuff stays on. But there's not. They have a very, very mild PlayStation branding right there. You can see a tiny PlayStation logo there.
Those look sleek too. I like they went nuts, man. They over designed everything, which is cool, man. Like I can tell you, I had a party with this launch.
You'll notice as I push my finger up, the rubber guy on that is just fitting up, and there's no way to pull the ears down. Right. So I believe there are certain head shapes that will not fit with this because you can't pull like I can just show you physically as I grab it. You can't go any further.
So you can't adjust that. That's crazy.
Right.
Tom SCH says, Vic, are you not getting a reviewable PS5 or do you have to wait to get your hands on one on launch day? Sony has said that they've got one for me, but I don't have it yet. And I don't know if it's a Canada thing or what, but I can't wait, guys. And you guys will all know about it as soon as I got one.
What Vic's not telling you is that they are waiting until he answers these riddles 3.
Yeah, it's the Sphinx. I've got a question. Could you talk a little bit about the trophy system? Did they talk about trophies yet with the
I think they've shown in menus that
Yes.
trophies still exist on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And that's really, and that they're about the same. By the way, I'm holding up, there's some buttons here. We've got a mute button, volume buttons, a monitor button, and then a chat and game button. And I imagine chat and game, my guess is, because I'm not reviewing it for you right now, is that chat and game would let you change the volume of whether you hear more of the game or more of your friends' chatter. Monitor, I don't know exactly what that would do. And then we also have a USB 3.0 for charging and a 3.5 millimeter cord for attaching any device you have that supports 3.5 millimeter. So because it's not a Bluetooth headset, it has its own dongle for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 consoles. It will work for either of those, and then a power button.
That's pretty cool. Tunde Abimbola says, how easy is it to open the top to get to the M.2 SSD slot? Now, I saw that teardown. It ain't easy.
No, you got to rip these plastic blades off. I haven't tried yet. I have not tried taking the plastic blades off.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had it for that long. And
you don't want a little piece to break. That would be the worst thing.
I already lost a screw.
Yes.
The
360 had the removable face plates, and I broke one of those taking it off, and it always felt a little weird. You froze up. Are you there?
I am here. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. For some reason, you froze up. I don't know why.
I'm back. Here's what happened. I moved my mouse. And my computer decided that was way too much processing.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, there you are. Okay. Question from SamIam111, which we established last time you here is not you. That would be weird if you were in the chat asking yourself
questions. I don't have a sock puppet, I promise.
Okay. Sam, have you tried the 3D audio with the headphones? If so, how is it?
I have a pair of headphones.
No comment. We got a lot of no comments today. It's like I'm talking to a Sony game maker now.
I mean, pretty much. But it sucks when they do this because they're like, hey, you can unbox and you can show people the stuff. Yeah. And then once I get on the mic, it's like, okay, read between the lines as much as you can. But some stuff I just can't talk about at all. I guess what I can say about 3D audio is I believe Sony has essentially promised that you don't. I mean, this is the case with any pair of headphones. You don't need special headphones to access Dolby Atmos or DTS:X. The idea with those sound protocols is they're just processing the audio in certain ways so that when any pair of headphones is used, you hear a 3D effect. I am not 100% sure, but I'm confident that Sony's own Tempest engine work is similar, in that you don't need to buy proprietary Sony headphones in order to use it. Instead, they're just sending a different signal than either Atmos or DTS:X.
Got you. Nintendo Boy 17 says, so is it a guessing game to find out what Sam can talk about? A little bit. It keeps it fun.
I'm allowed to unbox things, and I'm allowed to talk about one level and playing that in Astro's Playroom and what it felt like with the DualSense. And thankfully, that's a pretty open one.
and we can't really talk about the other unboxing experience at this point yet.
Oh, there's another console coming
out?
Yeah,
there's something else happening.
Is it the Ouya?
Exactly. How was the presentation opening the box and sort of unwrapping the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, when you take it out, you've got, first off, I'm looking over at where the box is. You open up one flap and there's another box inside of the box.
Right.
And then inside of that, it's pretty simple. You've got kind of a caddy that has the controller, the HDMI cable, the power cable, that's kind of wedged in. You know how there will be a main thing to handle the console and then just the extra little caddy for those accessories. That's how it is. You pull that caddy out, and then you've got two sort of, they're not styrofoam. It's a paper design. They're trying to be ecologically friendly, thank goodness. But it is kind of a pain. They they give you a sort of instruction. Don't lift it up. You need to have the whole thing down and kind of yank it out in a safe way.
Wow.
I did the unsafe thing and got it out just fine. But yeah,
it's like a big LCD TV or a big OLED TV. It's so big. I think that's what it is, right? You don't want to drop this damn thing.
There's nothing in the way of, there's nothing clever. There's nothing about it where you feel like you're really opening up a flower. It's more that, okay, well, at least it's ecologically. They're not using a bunch of styrofoam. They're using what appears to be recyclable paper.
Gotcha.
For all of the cushioning. So I appreciate that, but it doesn't blow you away. There's not a letter from Jim Ryan thanking you in particular.
That should be in there. Sam, you're thinking that should be right there, bud.
Hopefully that's in the box you eventually get, Vic.
Okay, I like it. I've got Carl and Simon. Hi, Vic. Can the NME expansion drive be used as a vaporizer for weed? And if so, will Sony release a gas mask type unit to shotgun your smoke? I told you we have the best chat on the internet.
Oh, Canada, we stand on. Okay, I will say this. I have to imagine those removable white shells are not things that you want to get up to vaporizer levels in terms of cannabis heating to get the vapor out.
Don't stick weed in your PlayStation 5.
Right. I mean, okay, but it's funny because obviously the NVMe spots are where there's going to be a lot of heat. This is a funny way to talk about heat inside of a console, because if you're going to generate heat that you would light weed on fire with, that would be the spot, because NVMe drives run hot. That being said, I think you're probably better off just taking the blades off and putting a glass bong in between them and then calling, I think that's your shot. That's just going to be more, that'll be fun, but also you'll just go safely high.
You're engineering a PS5 bong, man. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. I need chat to come up with a perfect pun, Smoke-A-Mon or something like that. What's the Sony branded Super PlayStation 5 bong name? Help me out, chat.
Oh my God. Vaz Vegas says, how long is the charge cable? And have you had a chance to test how long the controller lasts between charges? Are you allowed to talk about that?
No, because that would be me essentially going, okay, I played the entire game and did my controller last the entire time? I'm not there. I'm not there and talking about battery life. I can say this. It's a 1500 milliamp battery as opposed to, I believe the DualShock 4 is 1,000. It probably says so in the tiny text down here. It's about 1,000 on this versus 1,500 on that. However, I have just described all kinds of crap that the DualShock 5 is doing, at least inside of the game Astrobot's Playroom, which is you've got the rumbling. There's a lot more of it. You've got the speaker. It's louder and crisper. You've got the triggers that are pushing down more. There's more going on, and there's a slightly bigger battery. So does that add up to more battery life or less battery life? Does it change depending on whether a game has rumble or not? Those are questions that I can ask.
To be determined, to be tested.
TBD.
I know you can't really get into specifics about why you might feel this way, but what do you think is going to have the more successful launch? What do you, not just in terms of sales, but in terms of consumer, just what do you think? Consumer happiness and buying what they think they're buying. Which one of the two consoles so far do you think?
The way I could say this is that this is going to boil down to whatever anecdote blows up. because here's an example. We have Oculus Quest 2 that recently launched as a virtual reality headset. I've had some issues with it, but and I warned people that there's some Facebook issues. Now and I'm still working on a story about this. There are people who kind of immediately exploded saying, my account didn't work. My Facebook account was, it requires a new Facebook. You have to have a Facebook account. I created one right before it launched. It was a dummy account and now it's dead. And now my account's dead. And there were, 5 of these stories. We don't know if they're true, but that was the story. And I reached out to a lot of these people and said, what's your account name? What's some other details? Almost every single person since has come back and been like, oh, actually, Facebook support took a little while, like 72 hours, which sucks, but I'm back in and I'm fine. Other stories kind of trickle in, but I think you're going to end up with a similar question of what's the anecdote that drives everything? Is it about, oh God, nobody's PlayStation 5 arrived on time? Is it, oh my God, one system is super loud? Like I've tested Xbox Series X. It's been incredibly quiet. What if there's a broken fan? Or what if somebody pours water into the little holes at the top of Xbox Series X? Is that the meme? Concerned parents go, wait a second, oh my God, all these holes at the top of a system that are exposed to electronics. So I don't know. And I think both systems have that sort of memeing potential. I mean, the design on PlayStation 5, the way that those fins work, the fact that I already lost a screw on the stand, like, is that going to be the story people run with? I can't say definitively, but I think that is more likely to drive the public perception than what's the better launch game, what's the better launch suite. I mean, if Xbox Live goes down or PSN goes down, that could be the story. It's hard to say, but I'm looking at all those different
always
variables.
had challenges when you've brought new machines out there, haven't they? Yes, they have.
But I would say both companies at least have done this dance before in terms of server load, in terms of serving a lot of consumers. So, this isn't the first week of World of Warcraft launching by Blizzard. This is World of Warcraft's, 7th expansion, essentially, if we're comparing in that way. So I'm just curious what the anecdote will be. I think my expectation, at least, is that you're going to see a lot of people trying to fit Xbox Series X into entertainment stands in shelves that don't quite clear 6 inches in height.
And potentially getting into some overheating issues.
And by the way, this is a clearance of 4.25 inches. Sorry, I don't have the centimeters and millimeters for you. But you need at least 4.25 inches to put this in horizontal mode in a shelf. Like it will not fit if you don't get that, because of the way the curves are. That is the minimum clearance you need, 4.25 inches.
And in your personal entertainment setup, does that work?
It does, but I also made it Xbox Series X sized. So at that point, I could fit a cat down there in my entertainment center.
Gotcha.
Like,
so you
permanently comfortably.
So you were gonna go with horizontal for the PlayStation 5.
I think I'm going to go horizontal with PlayStation 5, but I have not made up my mind, because I like both. They clearly want you to go vertical, but not as much as it works. It's a little better working both ways, but it does look better vertically. Like if you do it horizontal, I think it looks cool, but the lack of symmetry, because it's the disc version, because the non-disc version has a perfect equal slope.
Yes.
And that is a little more pronounced, I'd say, when it's in horizontal mode, in my opinion. But, I haven't made up my mind, but I won't be sad either way. Now, I've already found the spot for my Series X. It's actually behind my television, but that's in a spot in my house where you see it. Like, you walk past a certain point and you can see it. It's not hidden. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't mean to, but there could be people who put it in a shame hole, like their little, the little shame bubble, because it's such an awkward shape.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's not going to appeal to everybody. They went so bold with this design, and certainly we've had lots of people talking about that already.
Both are bold. Both of them are bold. Yes,
both are bold for sure. Have you had any concerns about dust getting into the machine at all? Does it feel like it's ventilated properly, and is there enough protection?
Well, the teardown video shows that the fans that are working on this thing are pushing all of the dust into a little dust pocket, and you have to remove the plastic blades to get to that dust pocket. So they've created a system to move all of the dust specifically to one spot, but then they tell you to vacuum it, which you should never do. Do not apply a vacuum cleaner to sensitive electronics or anything close to sensitive electronics. I'm sure that I could scoop it out with a little like dust rag or something like that, but I don't know. I will say I've had the Series X, and so far it's fine. Like there's not a bunch of dust collecting on the top. And I'm in a basement apartment in Seattle. It can get dusty, and it's held up pretty well in that way, because even in standby mode, the fan is still kind of going very quiet.
Right.
And it hasn't been a dust accumulating thing on that little scent of dots on the top. Are you smiling because someone's come up with a bong name? Do we have a bong name
somebody
yet,
says you haven't fingered the dust holes. I think you fingered the dust holes in our last visit about the Xbox.
You're
These
mixing
people
me up with
remember everything. They got it all down. I love it.
I'll make sure as soon as I finger the dust holes to put that up at certain appropriate websites. Not this one.
It's so weird because I'm under embargoes of something else, and you are too on other different embargoes. So we can't really have the full conversation that we both want to have at this particular moment in time.
But here's the thing. I think this is a good opportunity to tell everyone watching, you as a consumer have a choice.
Yeah.
Sony and Microsoft are each kind of having you play the game. Devolver Digital's E3 or fake E3 thing this year, I think really, they always kind of talk about this stuff, but this year's did it really well, where you're more interested in the hype than the game. And I think it's fair as a consumer to look at all this and go, is this really worth my time? Now, I will say, I kind of love the game right now because of the chaos of the world. Vic, I will talk politically. If you give me that rope, I will take it and I will swing with it Indiana Jones style.
Yes.
But talking about what I can and cannot talk about with a PlayStation, there's a sort of fun and mystery to it. And I could see people saying, yeah, I will play along with that. And I could see other people saying, I'm being disrespected as a consumer. I think either of those is fair to roll with. But
we've been down this road before, and it is reductive to get into a fight about what's better, but it is it's like an energy infusion into the conversation around video games. You're going to be writing about stuff, and I'll be commenting on things, and we'll be on podcasts, and there's a lot to chat about. And certainly, what this whole podcast kind of points to is that we need to reconvene soon.
I'm all about it.
Do you know when, like, if we are to reconvene soon, do you have an idea of what a date might be that would work?
I could send Victor an email.
Okay.
And he would not be allowed to share that email with other people. Is the answer I would give that. But I did want to add one more thing, because again, we've been talking about the esoterics, the unboxing. There's been a little bit about the game. And I will say, I didn't talk about the gameplay of Astro's Playroom. It is a delightful platformer. The sensation of the controller is fun, but they also know what they're doing.
Sure.
And if you head to arstechnica.com, you'll see more about, there's just an utter playfulness and joy to Astro's Playroom. If you
Why wouldn't they make that a full massive they did something so beautiful with the VR game.
I wonder if it's a tease for more to come. I wonder if it's a reality of coronavirus development where they said, we had a bigger game in mind and we got to scale down. Either way, it's good. That one level I've played is good, and it's not the best of the levels that I've played. It's delightful, but also everything loads very fast, not instantly. But if you switch from place to place, like if you go from cold boot to the game, it's about 7/1000 as I count out loud.
Okay.
Some of the stuff is even faster to warp around through, but just loading into the level I'm talking about is very fast. And I've talked about similar things with Xbox Series X. Not instant, but it's nice. It is just nice to be back in that cartridge level of loading just as a default. It's dope.
Yeah. There is definitely a lot of exciting stuff coming up this holiday season, as much as we would want for a console launch, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, console launches have been crap for years, with the exception of Nintendo holding games from a prior generation. To we had that with the Wii, and we had that with the Switch, where it's, games of a generation that just showed up one generation late, but they're still amazing. And neither Xbox or Sony are slated to do that. I don't know what Demon's Souls is going to be like. I don't know what Spider-Man's going to be like, Miles Morales specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know. Destruction All-Stars got delayed. Maybe Demon's Souls gets delayed until they tell us otherwise. Who knows? I mean, we just had Cyberpunk get kicked down the curb another few weeks. So it's not the same right now where we know, Bethesda has its big epic Skyrim that's definitely ready. Halo Infinite is definitely ready. It feels a lot like those launch periods of consoles where it's like, well, people still own the old one, and they're still selling.
Yeah.
So we're still supporting that.
Yeah.
And we're moving into that transition, but we're going to wow you with some specific things. Oh, and some of it's going to be cross-generational. So maybe it'll be exactly the same on Xbox One gameplay-wise as it is on Series X. Or maybe it'll be like NBA 2K21, which looks like an almost completely different game because of the fidelity they're tapping into.
Yes.
I mean, my current hunch is that NBA 2K21 as a next gen game with way more sweat and detail in its players, if it's not buggy as hell, NBA 2K, they've got kind of a track record. If they can get that straightened out,
that's going to be the next gen game to get, or the one that shows off the power of these machines.
That shows off the power the most of you going, oh, that looks like players that I really like and coaches I really like. There's a video that came out today of 2 minutes of raw gameplay that has a couple of bugs and a lot of really good looking stuff. But your question is ultimately, what does this launch look like? I think this is similar to launches in the past where we have standouts that are good because they're good games, not because they're the most amazing tech in the world, and other exciting things to dig through.
I honestly can't even remember. I know Killzone came out on PlayStation 4 as a launch title. I can't remember the Xbox One launch game at all.
Xbox One had Killer Instinct and Power Star Golf and
wow.
Yeah, it was a weird Xbox One. I mean, Xbox One was a mess. We all know that. But Xbox, I will say at the both of them, if you pay a monthly subscription, you get games with your console. And with Xbox Series X or S, you've got Game Pass. And with PlayStation, they're like, well, crap, they scrambled. And they've got the PlayStation Collection, which they've already talked about, where if you pay for PlayStation Plus, you get a bunch of PS4 games, which may be enhanced with little patches in time for PS5. But we're not quite clear on what those are going to be.
Right.
So you'll have things to play. And that's good news, is that you don't necessarily need to go out and buy $70 games in order to plug in your system at launch and have a good time. And I think that's going to be really interesting when you see people plug these in and go, oh, wait, these subscriptions already have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And like how that changes the mentality of how you are as a consumer.
Not only a bunch of stuff, a bunch of excellent stuff that's still super fun to play. Backwards compatibility is no slouch. It's an incredibly important ingredient, I think, going forward. Yeah, it's
so
super cool.
We got any more stuff in the chat before I run away and get back to work on secrets?
I think you've answered what you can answer. Machkovech says NBA 2K21, 4K 60 frames per second, HDR, adverts for Nike, Gatorade, etc. So, yeah, he's got it. He's got it down.
They're going to be the crispest 8K interrupting ads you've ever seen. They're going to load real fast, at least.
Yeah. I know you guys have more questions, and we will answer all of them. I will, of course, be getting a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X, and we will be talking about all of this stuff. We'll have Sam back on very soon, and lots of other fantastic guests as well. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your review period with the new machines.
And you as well with your new machines. Well, I look forward to us interfacing many times about all of this madness.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
American viewers, if you are in my country of the United States, please vote. Make a plan to vote. Make sure that if you've got a ballot that you need to get into your wherever you're voting, that you take it as much as you possibly can.
You physically take it
directly to an office. Vote.org has a lot of information. It's nonpartisan. And then talk to people that you care about. See about their voting plans. Just ask what their voting plan is. Move that chain along. Depending on the state you're in, it could really matter in terms of democracy in my country. I thank you for letting me say that. And I just love hanging out here. Everyone's been so lovely and friendly.
I believe it. Everybody in our chat believes it. You got to vote, America. This is a very, very important election. And yes, and you cannot mail. You have to go physically and put it in a ballot box, an approved one, or take it into the polling station or whatever. But make sure you vote. Make sure everybody that you know and love votes.
And hit me up on Twitter @SamRed if you have questions about voting. I'll help you with your state. I'll help you with your friend's state. Whatever you need, I got your back. And then we can talk about video games after that.
I see people that are voting, which is great. Some people don't have the message yet, but it looks like a lot of people are voting, which is awesome. Thank you, Sam, and thank everyone for tuning in on this stream, and for all of our audio listeners. We will be back very soon with some new content for you, and until then, play forever.